Good morning, everybody out there. Happy Wednesday to you. Welcome to the Omni Channel Futures 2021 from the TRB, the Retail Bulletin, coming to you virtually again this time, and hopefully it won't be too long into the future that we're able to meet again. But today we have a great set of virtual events and a number of fantastic speakers lined up for you. You'll see in front of you right now a holding slide. We are very close to starting any moment now. Good morning, there we are. Welcome to the first session of the day and to the Retail Bulletin Omnichannel Futures event for 2021. As I said in the holding slide just a moment ago, here we are virtually again. Most of the events run by the Retail Bulletin were virtual last year. But we hope in time, maybe the second half of the year, that we're able to get together in person. Who knows? Before we get going, I'd like to just talk about what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be having up to 5 sessions with some great speakers throughout the day. This session this morning is we're going to be starting with what we call a Fireside Chat. And I'm just going to grab my dog because she's decided to play with the noisiest toys possible. And this does sometimes happen on webinars when my dog is appearing in the background. So apologies for that. Scam often makes an uninvited appearance. So I'm going to introduce now our speakers so far. We have with us Ken Daly, the CEO of JML Group. We have with us Callum, Campbell, the CEO of Linnworks. And David Robinson, there you are, David. Was just about to say you're having technical issues and you've made it. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you clearly, thanks.
Brilliant. David is the Chief Commercial Officer at Pets at Home. I have to say, David, my dog is a big fan of your shops and we spend a lot of money in there as well. So we are loyal and proud Pets at Home customers. A big thanks also today to our sponsors, the headline sponsors, Linnworks. Callum with us right now. Thank you so much for helping bring this event to life today. And I mentioned to our other sponsors as well, and Zip and Aptos and Nuxio and Clayvu. But yes, we have one of our headline sponsors with us right now on this Fireside Chat. So thank you so much. So, navigating the pandemic, building on the retail experience, that's the title of the webinar, but what a title indeed. And navigating the pandemic, we're almost 1 year in now. It's hard to believe that just 12 months ago, life was still kind of normal. This thing called COVID-19 was something that was on the television. I think there was probably the first case was appearing in the UK. I seem to remember it was in Brighton that some guy had been isolated and was being called a super spreader because he had infected up to 7 people. But those were the days when COVID-19 was happening to somebody else. And if it was happening in this country, it was isolated and hopefully it was just going to go away. And we were kind of being told it was going to go away. And then suddenly, over a number of weeks in early March last year, everything changed and our whole world turned upside down. And we've had moments of touching our old life again, you know, in the summer, with some lovely weather and able to go to a bar and restaurant again. We could kind of hope that life was on its way back. And then it felt as the darker nights drew in, it was all taken away from us again. And we found ourselves in lockdown 3 in different tiers and everyone was confused. And here we are now in lockdown 3, a month into who knows how long this will be. So there's the backdrop of what businesses are trying to deal with right now. And consumers are confused, businesses are confused. Everyone's kind of running around different ways on the pitch. But everybody ultimately wants the same thing, to get back to some quality of life that we once enjoyed. I think the most remarkable thing I've seen, not just in business, but also in all the people I speak to and me personally and professionally, is the kind of underbelly of resilience that people are still holding on to and the hope that there's better days ahead. So on that note, we will try and have a brilliant chat with these three great guys and kick off hopefully what will be a really valuable day of events today. So this session is really looking at retail post COVID-19 and how we build momentum, or how we try to make different or new progress in the new world that we'll be navigating. What's clear for retailers is that some of the steps, certainly for physical stores, won't go away. Social distancing is not just going to magically disappear when vaccines are all done. There are some people that say that vaccines are our get out of jail card, but there are some that say vaccines aren't going to be the silver bullet that we hope they're going to be. Who knows is the point I kind of make. I guess the only thing that really knows is the path of the virus itself. And so without further ado, I am going to ask each of our speakers to tell you a little bit about themselves, and then we'll kick off with the questions today. So Ken, tell us about you, please.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Ken Daly. I'm the CEO of JML. JML is a consumer products company, and our products are designed to make life easier. So we solve everyday problems, whether that's in housewares, DIY, car care, pet care, numerous categories. And our kind of point of difference is every product that we launch has a video film. So you may see our videos in stores, on TV, and of course online. So the business has been running since 1986. I joined in 1994. I know it doesn't look possible. And yeah, I'm excited to be talking about our experience during the past 12 months.
Thanks, Ken. I'm looking forward to asking you about it as well. Thanks a lot for that. Looks sunny where you are as well. Same here.
Oh.
Callum, tell us about you.
Sure. Yeah. Morning, everybody. Good to be with you all. So I'm Callum. I am the CEO of Linnworks. So Linnworks is a commerce automation platform. So essentially what we do is we help brands and retailers connect their selling channels online and their selling operations. So think, selling on Amazon, on eBay, across your website, all the different places that you might need to be selling if you want to be connected and engaged with your customers. So we connect all those channels into our central platform, and then we connect all of your operational backends, so your shipping service providers, your ERP systems, etc., so that brands and retailers have total commerce control at the center of their organizations. And we provide capability around inventory management, order management, product information management, and then data and analytics. So great to be here with you today. And I think a number of you are our customers on the line, and maybe others are interested in what we do. So it'd be good to share our experiences from the past 12 months.
Thank you for that, Callum. And yes, I can see our attendance is strong this morning. So welcome everybody, because we know that your time is precious and that you attend a lot of webinars. And so appreciate the numbers of you that are here with us already this morning. Thank you very much. David, tell us about you, sir.
Yeah, hi, morning everybody. David Robinson, I'm the COO of Pets at Home. For those of you who don't have a pet or don't shop with us, we're UK's leading pet retailer, got about 450 stores nationwide. So that's been quite interesting through the pandemic. We also have about 450 vets practices, 300 of which are in our stores. So again, lots of implications there. And then a thriving multi-channel business, which fortunately is thriving more at the end of pandemic than it was at the start. And no doubt that's some of what we'll talk about.
I got told off in one of your stores on Saturday, David.
For shopping with somebody else or not wearing a mask?
No, neither of those things.
Oh,
I'm happy to say. It was my dog got told off, actually. So I got told off for not controlling her. So she was getting a bit overexcited by the rabbits.
Oh, well, we normally love unruly dogs. In fact, we love dogs and any kinds of animals at all.
My dog has got the loudest bark that will leave you with tinnitus, though. And I think she was getting so heightened about the rabbits and so wanting a rabbit that the security guard was very kind and polite, but he just slightly wandered over and said, would you please just pull your dog away from the rabbits, please, sir? As everyone's kind of covering their ears. But no, I spent about 50 quid in your shop on Saturday, actually, David. So, and that was just meant to be a quick pop in for something. So there you go.
You're most welcome.
Yeah. Good. Well, listen, thank you for the intros, guys. Fantastic lineup. I'm sure everybody would agree. And I'm going to kick off, actually, if we can. Someone's actually already asking me, if they can see the dog later. She's right now, she's peaceful, and let's just enjoy the moment. On that point, I see you've worked out the Q&A audience, so please do use it. The button at the top of your screen, you can ask us whatever you like. I'm going to go through some set questions with our panelists this morning, our speakers, and we'll have some time at the end. And so please, anything you like, questions and answers, use the button up there. If you want to ask a specific question of one of the guys, please do so, or a general question, please go ahead. Ken, I'm going to come to you first, if I may, and spend some time with you around our virtual fireside. What's changed for you? So has your media strategy changed at all during COVID? And do you see any change staying or continue to evolve?
Yes, our media strategy has changed quite a bit during the pandemic. Like many businesses, we were gradually moving away from TV to more digital media. I think we all accept that linear TV is in decline. It's still incredibly powerful, probably the most powerful medium, but it's definitely in decline as we all move to video on demand. But there's been a bit of a renaissance of TV during COVID. More people are at home, more people have TV on in the background, particularly daytime TV. And also at the same time, at the start of the pandemic, a lot of major brands pulled out of the TV market. You know, when crisis hits, one of the first things that people do is they cut media spend. So there were some big opportunities at the start of COVID to buy TV media at very, very competitive prices. There were more eyeballs watching the TV. And people are stuck at home. So for us, COVID has almost kind of taken us a step back in terms of our media strategy to using TV more. I don't think this is something that's sustainable for the very long term, but at the moment, we're finding that TV is highly, highly effective. So that's one of the changes. The other change for us is that JML's business model has always been about creating demand. So if you're not familiar with our company, we create demand for a very small number of products. So JML's product range is quite limited, but we sell very, very large volumes of a small number of products. And so we create demand for those products that solve people's everyday problems. But we've now, during COVID, found that a very effective strategy is also to satisfy demand for products that our analytics are showing are being searched for, and they're in categories where we have strengths, or we have products in the back catalogue that can meet that demand, that can service that demand. So we've really moved to a twin track approach of creating demand, which is what we've always done as our core business model, but also satisfying demand for those products that people are searching for when they're stuck at home. So a lot of exercise products, a lot of storage products, a lot of cleaning products, all of these kind of things.
Because you were doing a lot of that side of business already, weren't you? But you were also a wholesaler as well, yeah? And
yeah, we're both a retailer and a wholesaler. We're a retailer in the sense that we have a big e-commerce operation. We have a home shopping channel. So that's where we're a retailer. As a wholesaler, we wholesale our products to many of the major retailers in the UK, and in fact in 50 countries around the world.
So did you see it with obviously bricks and mortar opening, closing, have you seen a massive impact on your wholesale business that you've managed to kind of fill the hole somewhere else? So how's that worked for you?
Well, when the pandemic first struck, you know, like a lot of us, you know, we thought, right, is this Armageddon, because our wholesale business is the biggest part of our business in the UK. And we saw the sales through bricks and mortar retail fall off a cliff, quite frankly, at the end of March. But then they began to recover, and they gradually recovered. And in fact, they reached levels that were higher than pre-pandemic. And that's really because we're very fortunate, we're very lucky in our business that we have products that people need when they're stuck at home. So we actually found that our bricks and mortar sales reached levels which were higher than they were pre-pandemic. It's been a little bit different in lockdown 3, because we've gone back to more stringent measures, quite rightly. But of course, essential retailers are still open. And the essential retailers are, well, they're having quite a strong time. We've all read the results of the supermarkets, for example. So whilst we've lost sales in the retailers that are closed, we're doing very, very well in the retailers that remain open, particularly the supermarkets. So the net effect really of COVID for us in bricks and mortar retail has probably been kind of things have stayed level to where they were same time last year. But at the same time, we've seen a massive, massive increase in demand online, as you would expect.
Yeah. Tell me, where's your office? Where's your HQ based?
Chiswick, West London. Okay,
so have you had sort of a complete shutdown of the office, or have you had part of the team coming in from time to time? How's that been working for you?
Well, I'm actually in the office at the moment, but there's half a dozen of us here. We absolutely tell everybody to work at home if they can. But we do have a number of people who can't work at home, particularly around, we're broadcasting a TV channel and we're editing video films that can't be done on, they need to be done in Edit Suite. So those kind of people have to come in. But yeah, so we've got a skeleton staff here. My personal attitude is that if I've got people in warehouses and going into stores, every now and again, it's good for them to see me in the office. It's hard for all of us as business leaders, I think. If we've got staff on the front line, it's a hard judgment to make, because obviously we don't want to encourage unnecessary journeys and people in offices, which, for everybody's safety. But at the same time, it's good to be seen, I think, now and again in the office for those people who are, working on the front line.
Yeah, no, I agree. I miss kind of that interactions that you have in the office. You can't beat them. They never really replicate in the same way as they do on Zoom. Are you getting a feeling from the team about how they feel about life post-pandemic? Will you have like a half and half thing, or everyone back to the office? How do you see it working?
Yeah, I think generally most people are enjoying working from home. Obviously, there are some people who are in difficult circumstances and they're not enjoying it. But most people are enjoying working from home. They're finding it to be quite an efficient way of working. But having said that, I'm sure that there are long-term disadvantages. I think we all miss the social interactions. We miss the kind of the proactivity and innovation that comes from when people have ad hoc, there's the water cooler type scenario. And the fact that if you want to talk to your colleague, you feel you need to book a slot in their diary and have a talk to you while just going walking over to their desk. So I've no doubt at all that there are some long-term detrimental effects of working from home. And I'm sure, I think most people think that when normality returns, it'll be a sort of hybrid where I think all of our team really appreciate the flexibility, work-life balance of being able to work from home. And they'd like basically a hybrid version where they're in the office 2 or 3 days a week and at home the rest of the time.
Yeah, well, certainly the hospitality players, the Pretz and the coffee shops and the like are hoping that offices come back very soon. Ken, thank you. It's great to hear that JML are kind of navigating the storm so well. And thank you for sharing that as well. I'll come back to you soon for some more questions. There are already some things coming in from our audience as well. David, over to you. So as I'm being harassed, you want to meet one of your best customers?
Oh, yeah.
There you go. This is Scamp. I found her in Bulgaria as a puppy in the snow in a little town called Vratsa. And she probably is one of your strongest loyalty card customers and cost me an absolute arm and a leg. So there you go.
How old is she?
Well, when she was found in Bulgaria, I found her. She was about 6 weeks old, the vet thought, from her teeth. But she was very sick. So we gave her a date of birth of early November 2019. So she's about 1 year and 3 months. The date of birth's got a 10-day margin of error, apparently, but just over 1. And she upgraded from Bulgaria to Belgravia. So she's done rather well. Right. Let's talk about you and your fabulous stores, because Pets at Home, I think, has a real affection in the retail industry, but also with customers as well. You're a great leader, Peter Pritchard, as well, very respected in the industry. And you've got quite the stellar career yourself as well. So tell us, how has it been for you guys? Because you stayed open. So given the shift to online, and your stores being open through the whole pandemic. Is that right? The whole of the lockdown?
Yeah, because we're essential all the way through.
How's it been?
It's been challenging and amazing in equal measure, really. You have the first lockdown, and literally we knew at 8:30 on that evening that Boris said it's locked
March
down.
23rd. Yeah.
March 23rd. Nobody knew who was essential, and we actually found out we were essential from a leaked memo on the Sun website at 10 o'clock that night. And by 9:30 the next morning, we were open with our social distancing in place. So it has been a roller coaster. And it's really interesting on a multi-channel level. Immediately your online sales go up overnight. So, you know, you go from literally needing to fulfill probably double the orders overnight. And yet you've got 7,000-8,000 colleagues in store, all of whom you've got to keep safe. You've got to make the right calls around, and you've got to be sure that your customers are going to be safe coming in as well. And then over and above that, we've obviously got pets in the store that we've got to look after.
Yeah.
So, you know, roller coaster all the way through, but actually, I think we've navigated it well. And the thing that's been the most important is actually taking the colleagues with us. That has been the most important thing all the way through, that we've almost inverted the business to allow them to come up with the new ideas, trial the new ideas, and then put them in. Typically in retail, you'd tell people which day to put them in. We've just said, look, do it when you feel comfortable. You run the store, you know what you want to do. And actually the colleagues have been outstanding all the way through.
So lots of doomsayers say that the role of stores moving forward is redundant and we'll see more and more closures. Am I assuming correctly that Pets at Home absolutely would still believe in the power of the store? Yeah.
Yeah, we do. I think it's a slightly different business. So, you know, it's a specialty business. It has a point of difference. The thing for us is our stores are more than a store. You know, you come to store for advice. Just about all the colleagues have got pets. They all go through 6 months training. So, you know, if it's nutrition, if it's what type of harness, you know, those sorts of things customers come in to see us for. We've got vets in store. You can't do veterinary over the phone. And then we've got groomers as well. So at the moment, they're only open for welfare grooms, but you know, you've got services and advice and product. And actually what we found out during the last few months is they're probably a cheap, efficient way of fulfilling product as well. So for us, the store is definitely got its place going forward.
Tell me, one of the other battlegrounds in retail has been fulfillment and getting that right. Did lockdown change that for you at all, or was it business as usual?
No, massively. So on that March 23rd, the next day or that night, the web went mad. We had to literally, it was almost like double Black Friday without any of the run up. So the first 2 weeks were somewhat interesting for the poor folk in Northampton, where our ship to home operation is. Fortunately, we'd invested in automation the summer before, and we were bedding that in. So we bedded that in a bit quicker. So our home delivery volumes have gone up. And I think it's much easier at the moment, isn't it? We're all at home. You know, you get those messages saying, will you be in for your parcel? Yeah, where else am I going to be? Right? You know, I wish I wasn't in for my parcel. So, I mean, home delivery has gone up. It's more comfortable. Yeah. But customers still want to be in control. So we've accelerated 1 hour click and collect. We're now testing ship from our stores straight to your house to make it even quicker. And we've also done a thing called Contactless Collection. So you tip up in the car park, you zap a QR code, it buzzes one of the colleagues' iPads. We get your product, pick it out, put it in your boot, and you're away in 4 minutes. So in a COVID world, you don't even have to get in the car, so it's very safe. Actually, going forward in a convenience world, you know, sometimes you don't want to spend lots of time in the shop. You just want to pick up your 15 kg dog food, and actually we think that's the way. So for us, we knew fulfillment was important, but boy, has it got more important, and the acceleration in that seems to have gone sort of 3 years in one.
Yeah. David, thank you. massive fan here, as is my dog, as I said, and we'll come back to you, I'm sure, with some more questions in a sec. Callum, we've heard from two retailers. Good morning. What should be front of mind for brands and retailers when it comes to e-commerce? You're working with lots of them. What's your advice?
Yeah, so I think the primary thing to always be thinking about when you're running an organization is like what's going on with your customer. I think for brands and for retailers, like the consumer landscape is just shifting massively through the kind of, it's been on a kind of trajectory of change, but I think that's been accelerated through the crisis. I think the primary thing I think brands and retailers have to be thinking about is what we would call like the rise of the effortless economy, the idea that commerce is continuously moving closer and closer to consumers. It's happening increasingly on the consumer's terms. It's becoming increasingly effortless for consumers. And that creates challenges for brands and for retailers. So how do I serve my customers in all of the different environments where they're choosing to shop? Because that's where they expect to like purchase on their terms. We see the rise of, for example, social commerce, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Pinterest, BuzzFeed, they're all offering commerce now. And it's these environments where commerce is increasingly happening and going to happen in the future, as well as the big marketplaces. So you've really got to have a strategy, I think, that means that you can serve your customers in the effortless economy on their terms. And so I think that's just got to be front of mind for brands and retailers. How are we set up to stay connected with our customers wherever they choose to shop? Have we got the operational backbone to do that? And then I think just the other, two other big things to mention as well is I think direct to consumer commerce, is on the rise. And we're going to see that just continue to be the case. So the idea of brands bypassing their traditional retail networks and going direct to consumer, I think when they do that, there's more margin for them. But probably more importantly, they get better insight on the end consumer. Through data on digital platforms, so they can understand the consumer better, they can build a better proposition. So I think that's disruptive to the landscape, and it creates questions for retailers of, well, how do we differentiate our retail offerings so that's not just about product availability, but as per David's comments, it's about the whole experience. And then for brands, what we're seeing is lots of brands having to ask the question, well, how do we go direct to consumer? How do we actually make that transition? And it's a huge change in the business model for us to do that effectively. So rise of the effortless economy, I think significant, direct to consumer. And then I guess the third one in the digital landscape would be just around the strengthening of marketplaces, the kind of big marketplace platforms. We know of Amazon, we know of eBay, but there's a lot of others coming into the space, the marketplace space. Seeing Walmart making big moves in North America, and really across the board, what we're seeing is the marketplace model is not only compelling for consumers, it's very attractive to the consumer because they're empowered, they have so much visibility of a product, so much choice on those platforms, but then it's compounding for the marketplace. The model is such that the more consumers they get onto their platform, the stronger effectively they become in the landscape. So I think really understanding for a brand and retailer, how do we work effectively with marketplaces in our strategy, as well as our kind of direct and first party channels is also, I think, got to be front of mind.
Where do you sit on this debate about the future of bricks and mortar? What does that look like in your view?
Yeah, I think sort of goes back to kind of my first point around commerce moving close to consumers, and that this idea of the rise of the effortless economy. I think commerce has to increasingly happen on the consumer's terms, and some consumers will want to buy in store. So I think bricks and mortar definitely has a place in future. My hunch is that it will look far more experience driven. So I think we'll see fewer lines of stock held in bricks and mortar locations. It would be high moving, faster moving lines of stock held in bricks and mortar locations, and the bricks and mortar experience much more heavily centered around kind of brand experience and how does a consumer engage with the brand. So you think of Nike Town in Oxford Circus. I think that's a great example of what bricks and mortar will look like, and that will get replicated obviously at smaller scale. Nike are a huge brand, but I think bricks and mortar will very much look like an experience driven environment, and a lot of direct to consumer brands establishing bricks and mortar presences.
And Amazon get talked about a lot in these webinars and debates, and obviously they've been in the news recently with their very famous boss deciding to move on to pastures new. Where do they fit into the future of commerce? What do you see for Amazon down the track?
Yeah, I think you can't write off Amazon. I think they're huge and they're going to continue to grow. I do think the growth will probably begin to slow. I think as the market matures in terms of e-commerce, we're seeing some really interesting players come into the space. So again, I mentioned social commerce. I think that's going to create a big challenge to Amazon's platform. So I think fundamentally, I think Amazon kind of begins to get challenged or unbundled in two kind of dimensions. The first one is around brand. So I think it's hard for merchants selling on Amazon to really represent their brand well. I know Amazon are making steps to try and improve this. So I think we're going to see environments where sellers effectively, big or small, can represent their brand better. So for example, the social commerce platforms like Facebook thrive because consumers are kind of used to just accessing product on Amazon, but actually I think they want to have a brand experience like they maybe can't on Amazon. So I think Amazon will be unbundled in terms of brand experiences, so social commerce platforms, but then I also think category specific experiences. So Amazon is a generalist marketplace. You can buy everything there. They call themselves the everything store, but what we're seeing is the emergence of platforms like Etsy or Wayfair or Zalando, category specific marketplaces. So, Wayfair says, right, home and garden, we're going to be the specialists in home and garden for marketplace. We're going to offer a very wide range of products. It's still the same marketplace offering, but it's going to be tailored to home and garden. So it's then a brilliant experience for the consumer. And I think that's what Amazon then gets challenged, is that it can't kind of match the expertise of all of these different platforms. So I think Amazon will be strong. It will continue to be strong, but I think its growth will slow and it will be challenged by those who are offering the kind of brand-centric experience and those who are offering the category-specific experience.
It's interesting, isn't it? And when you say growth may slow slightly for Amazon, do you think that's just because other people will get better at competing with them?
Yeah, I think Amazon kind of came flying out of the blocks. They set a new standard around consumer experience. And I think the rest of the world is having to play catch up. And it's put a lot of pressure on brands and retailers, right? But I think as the world is catching up and as the technology is becoming available to help brands and retailers kind of operate at that level, then I think Amazon has to kind of continuously be looking to disrupt itself and innovate and push forward if it wants to kind of to keep up its levels of growth. And I think others are playing catch up, and there's some really interesting examples of what's going on in the entire world of commerce. So I think, Amazon won't kind of hold that spot forever, but it's certainly got some great momentum at the moment.
Thank you so much. We're running short of time, but I'm going to keep going for a bit, if that's okay, because our audience number has grown from the moment that we started. So you guys are clearly quite the draw. So congratulations. I'm not quite sure we've ever seen it go up like that. So thank you for that, guys. I've actually got a question come in that have been kind of tailored around each of you. So that's very thoughtful of our audience. So I'm going to go back, if I may, to Ken. Someone specifically asking, thank you, Stephanie, for this, whoever you are. Thank you, Stephanie. She wanted to know how JML has handled Brexit changes with cross-border supply and trade. Obviously, we've heard a lot about it not being quite as easy as the government may have told us it was going to be. What's your view, Ben?
Well, perhaps I shouldn't tell you my view, but our experience.
Experience, then. Yes.
Yeah, because it's one of those subjects, isn't it, that divides. You're always going to upset somebody if you express your view on it. So business, we don't really have a view on it, but in terms of operationally, we're quite fortunate. So because our international businesses are with their wholesalers, their distributors, and the way we ship to them is directly from the source of manufacture. So we ship containers mainly from China to our customers around the world, including in the EU. So that has been unaffected, essentially, by Brexit. So we're not actually exporting from the UK into the EU, with the exception of the Republic of Ireland, and where we supply the major retailers in the Republic of Ireland. And that has been a nightmare, I have to say. Huge IT integration project to enable all the relevant fields on the documentation to be populated. But that's something that we did, and we got that completed in time for the deadline. So there's a lot of additional bureaucracy getting product into Southern Ireland, but it is manageable. I'm sure that the issues that there are will be gradually ironed out as time goes on. But thankfully, JML hasn't been negatively affected really by Brexit. I guess the only other consideration which probably affects many of the people on this call is the exchange rate. So when the Brexit vote was made in 2016, I think it was, sterling devalued by 15% or something overnight, and that effectively increased the cost of goods that for a lot of us are bought in US dollars. And that situation is, we've learned to live with that because the exchange rate has remained roughly stable during that time. In fact, it's improved a bit if you're an importer. Obviously, if you're an exporter, you want it to go the other way. But that's probably been the biggest impact, and that dates back to 2016 for us.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your contribution this morning as well. Much appreciated. David, a pet one for you. I don't have a name for this question. It's an anonymous attendee. Thank you, anonymous attendee. But what changes have you seen in the customers' buying habits in the pet care world since COVID all kicked off?
Yeah, good question. So the first thing I think you'll see is the role of pets during the pandemic and lockdown has changed. And Pets would have said this in any case, but actually loads of people now have worked out that their pet is their friend. They chat to them. You talk about mental health. Actually, your pet is helping mental health. Yeah. They're your exercise buddy. They're your playtime buddy. We've seen a large increase in people getting puppies and kittens because they're at home and therefore they can spend the time getting them settled. And then I think what else are we seeing? We're seeing a lot of people nesting at home and therefore being at home, spending time thinking, I think Fido can have a new bed, or we get a new cat tree. So anything in the house has gone up significantly. And I think you've seen that in lots of other businesses as well. If you look at Dunelm and DFS and B&Q, there's a whole sort of trend around the home. Whether that will last, I don't know, because I suspect people are still saving their money for a holiday at some stage, either in 2021 or 2022, depending on when we're unlocked to do that. But broadly, what we're seeing is the biggest impact is the sort of the role of the pet in the household, and actually anything to do with pets gets more column inches at the moment. I mean, everybody's just so much more attuned to their pets. It's lovely in that sense.
Thank you, sir, and thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to be on today's panel as well. Callum, this is from the Retail Bulletin guest. So again, thank you, Retail Bulletin guest, whoever you are. What do you see as being key in-store technologies? What do you see as being probably one of the most important key in-store technologies going forward as stores evolve and try to maintain their relevance?
I think technologies around like click and collect become really important. Again, I think like the broad principle is, how do you create a really sort of continuous and unified experience between online and offline for the consumer, so that it happens on their terms. So things like click and collect, or for a consumer to understand inventory availability, like is a product available in store just down the road, like systems like Near Street, for example. Brands and retailers can use Near Street to help feed their inventory levels and in-store online, so that consumers get that visibility. So I think really it's just technologies that allow consumers to have that seamless experience between online and offline and access product on their terms as quickly as possible.
It's incredible, isn't it? Because click and collect as a concept has been around a long time. I think Argos were the early pioneer of click and collect, but it still doesn't seem like it's done that well by that many retailers. Yeah,
I certainly think that a lot of the feedback that a lot of what we're seeing in the market now is that a lot of brands and retailers are building out their click and collect strategy, and just it sort of feels like almost like a prerequisite. I certainly know I've shopped like a lot more with click and collect through the pandemic than ever before. So I think there's been a fundamental shift in actually behaviors around click and collect, where it was one of those things that people almost didn't have to do it, so they didn't. But I think now that people have begun to engage with it, it's actually highly convenient. So I think it's definitely here to stay.
Thank you, sir, and thank you for your contribution to the event today, and thank you again also to you and Linnworks for sponsoring the whole set of events that are going ahead today. Audience, can I just say thank you You have stayed with us, but also grown in numbers as well. So I think that might be a first for an opening session at the Retail Bulletin. We're good at holding our audience, but this has been extra good because we've grown it. So delighted with that start. Down to the guys that were speaking this morning, Ken, David, Callum, thank you so much again for giving up your time. Join us again at 11:30 for our next session, webinar number 1, changes in consumer behavior. But you've got time now to pop the kettle on, take a break, answer some emails, and we'll see you in just over an hour's time. Thank you so much again, gentlemen, and have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Cheers, guys.